Imagine the silence of a Ukrainian morning at 4 o'clock. The mist rising from the Siwerskyj Donez river is so thick you can almost taste the iron and the dampness in the air. You are huddled in a shallow trench, the forest floor cold and wet against your chest. Your primary weapon is not a heavy rifle or a shoulder-fired missile. Instead, it is a ruggedized tablet reflecting the pale light of a flickering screen. On that monitor, you see them. Thermal signatures, bright glowing ghosts against the dark and cold earth. This is the Russian 74th Motorized Rifle Brigade. They move with a false sense of security, believing the early morning fog is their protective shroud. They are wrong. For weeks, the world has been watching the tactical maps. We saw the Russian pincer movements. We saw the massive buildup of pontoon equipment and heavy engineering vehicles near the tree line. Every basic military instinct tells a defender to strike the moment the first vehicle touches the water. But the order from the Ukrainian 17th Tank Brigade was different. It was a test of nerves that most men would simply fail. The command was to let them build, let them cross, let the bridge get crowded. Today we go far beyond the shallow headlines. We are not just looking at a battle between two armies. We are looking at a masterclass in strategic patience and a terrifying demonstration of modern technological warfare. We are going to break down the digital infrastructure that coordinates death in seconds, the intricate physics of top attack munitions, and the exact moment a river turned into a massive graveyard of twisted steel. A river is much more than a body of moving water. In strict military terms, it is a linear obstacle. To cross it, an army must funnel its entire strength into a single narrow point. They become a bottleneck, stripped of their ability to maneuver or spread out. But there is a deadly paradox at play here. If you destroy a bridge too early, the enemy simply retreats back into the woods and finds a new spot to cross. You have won a brief delay, but you have not won a victory. Ukraine wanted more than a delay. They wanted to break the back of an entire tactical group. To accomplish this, they utilized a concept known as planned attrition in the deep. They calculated the exact weight the pontoons could carry. They knew the top speed of the Russian tanks. They waited until the density of the targets was perfect. This was not a random skirmish. This was a mathematical execution based on the logic of geography and data. The secret sauce of this victory was not just the raw power of the guns. It was a software system called GIS-ARTA. You can think of it as a ride-sharing app, but instead of calling a taxi, it calls in a precision-guided artillery shell. Traditionally, artillery is a slow and bureaucratic process. You spot a target, you call a command center, they verify the location, they talk to the battery, and minutes later, you might see a fire mission. In the Battle of Bilohorivka, that process was completely obliterated. GIS-ARTA creates a decentralized network where every unit is connected. A drone pilot spots a tank, clicks a button on his screen, and the coordinates are instantly sent to the nearest and most relevant gun. This software integrates data from drones, ground scouts, and even satellite imagery, ensuring that the response is as fast as a digital heartbeat. The system is often supported by Starlink terminals, providing a high-speed data link that the enemy struggled to jam. But the hardware waiting in the hinterland was just as impressive. While the Russians relied on older Soviet-era designs, Ukraine was fielding the titans of the West. The German Panzerhaubitze 2000 and the French Caesar truck-mounted howitzers were hidden miles away, their barrels already aligned with the riverbank. The Panzerhaubitze 2000 is a technical marvel because of a technique called multiple round simultaneous impact, or MRSI. This is pure lethal mathematics. The gun's internal computer calculates 5 different trajectories for 5 different shells in real time. The first shell is fired at a very high angle with a maximum propellant charge. The subsequent shells are fired at increasingly lower angles with less propellant, because the first shell spends significantly more time in the air. The fifth shell can catch up to it. The result is that all 5 heavy shells impact the exact same target at the exact same second. When those shells hit the Russian bridge, they did not arrive one by one. They arrived as a singular, overwhelming wall of fire that gave the soldiers on the pontoons 0 time to react. But what happens when the bridge is destroyed and the tanks are scattered in the mud? That is where the smart munitions enter the frame. Specifically, the smart 155 and the Swedish-French bonus shells. These are sensor-fused munitions that feel like they belong in a science fiction movie. A single shell is fired high over the forest. It does not explode on impact. Instead, it releases 2 sub-munitions that drift down slowly on small wings. As they fall, they rotate and scan the ground using multi-mode infrared sensors and millimeter wave radars. They are looking for one thing: the heat signature and the metallic shape of a tank engine. Once the sensor locks on, it triggers an explosively formed penetrator, or EFP. This is a heavy disc of copper that is instantly transformed into a molten, aerodynamic slug, traveling at over 2,000 meters per second. Because it strikes from directly above, it hits the top armor, which is the thinnest part of any modern tank. No amount of steel or reactive armor can stop a copper slug traveling at Mach 6. On the riverbank of the Donez, these sub-munitions hunted the Russian armor like hawks hunting mice. The efficiency was terrifying. We have seen drone footage of Russian crews looking up in their final seconds, hearing the faint hum of the descending sensors, realizing that their 45-ton machines were about to become iron furnaces. We can talk about the technology and the physics for hours, but we must also talk about the men on the ground. For the Ukrainian defenders, the wait was psychological torture. Imagine watching the army that destroyed your hometown building a bridge just 200 meters away. You want to fire, you want to stop them, but you must trust the math, you must trust the command. And for the Russians, the experience was a descent into hell. Imagine being the driver of the 10th tank in the line. You see the first 3 tanks in front of you vanish in balls of fire. You see the bridge behind you collapse into the dark water. You are trapped on a muddy bank with nowhere to go, while a rain of smart steel falls from a sky you cannot even see. The engineering of the Russian T-72 tanks also played a role in the disaster. Due to their carousel autoloader, the ammunition is stored in a circle directly beneath the crew. When a top attack munition pierces the roof, the ammunition often ignites instantly, leading to the infamous jack-in-the-box effect where the turret is blown hundreds of feet into the air. By the end of the 48-hour window, the Russian brigade had effectively ceased to exist as a fighting force. Over 70 armored vehicles were left as charred skeletons in the mud. Nearly 500 soldiers were estimated to be killed or wounded. The river itself changed color, reflecting the oil, the metal, and the human cost of a failed strategy. This was not a battle won by raw bravery alone. It was a battle won by information dominance. The side that saw more and the side that waited longer claimed the victory. The Battle of Bilohorivka was a warning to the entire world. It proved that in the 21st century, the traditional river crossing is a dead maneuver. When every meter of the earth is watched by a $500 drone, there is no place to hide. The fog of war has been replaced by a digital spotlight that leaves no room for error. Ukraine waited, they watched, and when the density of the enemy reached its peak, they used the laws of physics and the power of strategic patience to rewrite military history. The river still flows today, and the rusted wrecks still sit in the mud as a grim monument to an old world army that met a new world defense. Write your tactical analysis in the comments, We'll see you in the next deep dive. Stay sharp